you need to communicate. That's when your advisors become really, really important. Your advisors should be filling the roles of people you don't have on the team. And so if you're like, look, we've got five advisors who are commercial product people, they know how to sell, they're helping us while we raise capital to fill this role. That's a really great way to communicate your team, what you're missing, and how you're trying to fill it. Don't be afraid to be missing people. That we understand. I think I've seen some numbers where your basic team starts to get filled when you have about 15 to 20 people on the team. That covers every area of the business. So we know you're missing people. So it's fine. But again, make sure you're covering uh, what your team's capabilities are. And then also make sure why is this person the CEO? Why is this person the marketing person? A lot of times we hire our friends or, classmates or whatever because that's the only person available. But you want to communicate again why that person is in that position. So again, I start building confidence around you and your team. Don't spend too much time on your advisor. Some people will go off on these people for like what feels like 45 minutes. I don't really care unless there's someone in your ecosystem. Like if you had Peter Thiel or Mark Cuban as someone as your advisor, someone who already has a huge following and most people know, absolutely tell me about that. If there's somebody in your local ecosystem that is very highly involved in a certain area of the business, then absolutely talk about that person. But for the most part, you don't need to spend that much time. All right. So moving forward, the next thing you need to communicate is how do I as the investor get that return? And then you're going to talk about these additional opportunities. So this is one thing. You do not have to have this. But if you have multiple verticals that you can sell into, so let's say maybe you're starting off with dental clinics, and then you can move into family practice clinics and to dentists or whatever the things are. This is where that would come in. So today we're hyper focused on a certain industry, but in the future we're going to go after this, after this, after this. Then these are our exit opportunities as we do that. So here's some companies that have been acquired in the past. And these are the companies that are acquiring them. And what you want to do here is make sure that you know the numbers. So if let's say you're in a shoe business and you're like, Nike just acquired this company for $10 million. You need to know as much as you can about that acquisition. So you're like, they got to $8 million in sales, right? If that number starts to get into my brain, and so I'm like, can this company get to those sales? And if they can, then this is a really great business opportunity. Some VCs and investors don't like this slide. So it's up to you whether or not you want to, you should have it in your deck. Maybe it's in an appendix. Angel investors really like this slide typically, but from what I've seen, some VC groups don't because they're in it for the long haul and it just really depends on the investor. So I would always make this slide. It's up to you if you want to use it or not. And then finally, your ask slide. This is, I would say, the second most important slide after your ability to communicate the problem. And you're going to end on this slide. Again, going back to what we talked about at the very, very beginning, a lot of us are conditioned through school and other things to end with like a thank you slide. But when you're pitching to investors, you don't need the thank you slide. It's implied and you're going to say it. So it'd be like, thanks everyone for listening. We're raising $50 million. Here's the terms. Here's how we're going to use those funds. This is what we're going to accomplish. And then you can see right down here at the bottom, I have my contact information. So you don't need a whole extra slide for contact information. And then what you're going to do is just leave this slide up. And so as you're presenting, this slide tends to get the most airtime. And so what ends up happening is if I'm, taking notes and I keep reading through this slide, it's reminding me about every aspect of the presentation that I've seen, and it's cueing me to ask you questions. If you go to a thank you slide, which is what I'm going to do right now, you've lost that, right? Ask me a question about my deck based off of this slide. It's really, really hard to do that. And so with that, I do want to thank you guys for this. Everything that I've talked about is in my book that I wrote. And if you have questions, let's get to those. But I'll go back to the ag slide just to prove a point.
Okay, so thank you so much, Tim. Firstly, I think my question would be, can you please, really tell us more about the book? Where can we get it? What it's about? And
Yeah.
what is it for?
Yeah, so the book is the pitch deck book. It's really for anybody raising capital. Um, it, everything I told you guys is in this book, and then I've added more to it. So there's things you can do before the presentation to increase your likelihood of getting funding, and there's things you can do after it as well. And also in the book, there's three presentations in the book that so you can kind of see like what it used to look like, and then things that I would have fixed. And actually, as I talked about like sucking at raising capital before, my original pitch is in the book, so you can see how bad it was. And so full transparency going on right there.
Can you tell us a little bit about the first pitch?
My first pitch?
Yeah.
Yeah, so again, we're knew we needed